Everyone knew the name Harold Grayson. He was the man who donated millions to children's hospitals, who appeared on magazine covers with his polished smile and picture-perfect family. Beside him, always, stood Alice, his elegant wife, and in front of them their adopted daughter, Mia. Mia was different. A young black girl in a custom wheelchair, with soulful eyes and a fragile body. Harold often said in his interviews that she was the best decision of his life. They called him a saint for adopting her after her biological mother, a struggling addict, passed away. The narrative was clear. He saved her, the grateful daughter, the charitable billionaire, the American dream of compassion and wealth combined. But behind the camera flashes and the champagne receptions, there were cracks. Mia never smiled in candid moments. She rarely spoke in interviews. And Harold, his charm slipped when no one watched. His grip on Mia's shoulder was just a bit too firm. His glances when she struggled to speak seemed more annoyed than concerned. But no one questioned it. Why would they? Who would dare? That weekend, the Graysons arrived at a luxury mountain resort. It was supposed to be a retreat for the family. Just the three of them. Journalists were invited for the first day. Photos were taken of Harold pushing Mia's wheelchair near a breathtaking overlook, mist rising in the distance like a painting. Alice cried during one of the interviews, saying how proud she was of her husband's love. Harold kissed her forehead. Mia said nothing. By sunset, the cameras were gone. Only the wind remained, and the silence between father and daughter. Harold asked Alice to rest at the hotel spa. He said he wanted to take Mia for a little stroll near the edge before dinner. She agreed without hesitation. Out on the path, the cliffs glowed orange under the dying sun. Harold pushed Mia slowly, his steps calm, his breath measured. Mia looked up at him once, but he didn't return the glance. When they reached the rocky edge, he stopped. The view was stunning. Down below, the rocks jutted out like broken teeth, the river hissing between them. Mia whispered something. Harold leaned in, speaking softly. "You understand this is for the best." Mia's eyes widened. She shook her head, but he placed a hand on her shoulder and said again, "It has to be this way." Then, with a swift movement, a push, the wheelchair tipped, a scream tore through the air, but it was short. Metal clattered against stone, then nothing. Harold stood there for a moment, chest rising, eyes blank. Then he turned, pulled at his hair, and ran. By the time he reached Alice, his voice was hoarse, his face contorted. "It was an accident. She slipped. The brakes didn't hold. I tried to stop her." Alice screamed. Staff rushed in. Security alerted the police. That same moment, a girl sat alone on the upper terrace of the hotel. Lily, 16, pale, quiet. She worked part-time in the kitchen, helping her grandmother who cleaned rooms. But in her free hours, she liked to watch birds through the antique binoculars she'd found in the Lost and Found. She wasn't watching birds that evening. She'd seen Harold and Mia walk to the cliff. She'd seen what happened. Her hand trembled. The binoculars slipped from her face. No one knew she was watching. Not yet. Lily didn't sleep that night. She lay in the tiny room behind the laundry station, where her grandmother kept a cot for naps between shifts. But Lily didn't close her eyes. Every time she did, she saw that moment, the wheelchair tipping, the girl's arms flailing, the sudden stillness, her breath caught in her throat again and again. She hadn't imagined it. She couldn't have. But what was she supposed to do? Her grandmother always said, "Stay quiet, stay small. People like us don't make noise. We just survive." The next morning, the hotel buzzed with confusion. Guests murmured about an accident. Some mentioned the police. Others whispered that someone had died. A few even asked for refunds. Lily stayed in the shadows, wiping tables and refilling napkin dispensers. She avoided eye contact. She kept her head down. Then she saw them. Harold and Alice Grayson, at breakfast. Alice's eyes were red and puffy. She clutched Harold's hand like it was the only thing keeping her from drowning. Harold wore a solemn face, pale and noble, like a man carrying the weight of the world. He was the perfect grieving father. Only Lily knew the truth. She nearly dropped the tray she was carrying. She watched him lean over to comfort Alice, brushing her hair back, whispering something in her ear. Alice nodded, tearfully. Lily felt sick. She rushed to the back kitchen and leaned over the sink. Cold water, deep breath. Then she heard voices behind her. Hotel staff. They said Mia's body hadn't been recovered yet. The river was too fast, the drop too deep. The authorities were treating it as a tragic accident. No suspicion, no signs of foul play. The brakes on the wheelchair had failed. Apparently, Lily bit her lip so hard it bled. She wanted to speak. She wanted to scream it. He killed her, but who would believe her? A teenage kitchen hand, against Harold Grayson. She remembered what happened to her friend, Marcy. The one who reported that manager for stealing tips. Marcy was gone by the next day. No one even talked about her anymore. Lily couldn't afford that. Her grandmother would lose her job. They'd be homeless. So Lily did nothing. Days passed. The Graysons left the hotel. With an entourage of cameras and reporters, Harold gave a short statement, thanking the rescue team, asking for privacy, holding Alice close. The world watched and wept, and Lily stayed silent. She told herself she'd forget, that it would fade like a nightmare. But every time she closed her eyes, Mia's face was there, until one night, almost a week later, she found something. It was just after closing. She was clearing a hallway near the back exit when she spotted a scuffed backpack under a bench. It was old, faded pink, with a broken zipper. Curious, she opened it. Inside a notebook, a children's book, some tissues, and a Polaroid photo of Mia. Lily stared. The backpack had to be hers. She flipped open the notebook. The handwriting was shaky, uneven, but there were entries. Short lines. Phrases. He gets angry when I don't smile. I don't like the cliff. I'm scared. Today he told me not to tell anyone. My legs hurt but I didn't cry. I heard him say I was just a story for the papers. Lily felt cold all over. She clutched the notebook like it was a living thing. This wasn't just in her head. This was proof. She knew what she had to do. But when she looked up, someone was watching her from the end of the hallway. A tall man in a dark coat. Not staff. Not a guest. Just standing. Silent. And then he turned and walked away. Lily stood frozen. Something told her this wasn't over. Lily didn't sleep again. The man in the hallway, his face had been just out of view, but there was something about his stillness, the way he watched her. It didn't feel like a coincidence. She checked the security cameras the next morning. She had a friend in maintenance, Javi, who owed her a favor after she'd covered for him when he showed up drunk on shift. She told him someone had been sneaking around. He shrugged and gave her access to the staff monitor for a few minutes. But the footage for that wing, between 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. was missing. Corrupted file, Javi said. Happens sometimes. Lily didn't believe that for a second. She took the notebook home with her. Well, not really home. The basement room she shared with her grandmother below the staff quarters. She hid it inside the lining of her mattress. Each night she read more of Mia's notes. I dream I can run. He told me I'd be grateful someday. I miss Mom. I miss her voice. I don't trust him when he smiles. One entry stopped Lily cold. If anything happens to me, it wasn't an accident. The words were shaky, like Mia's hands had trembled writing it. Lily wanted to go to the police, but she knew what would happen. They'd laugh, or worse, they'd call Harold, and then she'd disappear too. So she made a plan. She found a reporter online, someone who had written a few pieces about corruption in the foster care system. Her name was Monica Lenz. Lily sent her an anonymous message. No real names. Just what she saw. What she found. Monica replied. 2 days later. Meet me. Neutral place. Somewhere public. Lily chose the diner just outside town. She arrived early. The notebook in her backpack. Heart pounding in her chest like it wanted out. Monica showed up wearing a ball cap and sunglasses. Casual but sharp-eyed. She listened without interrupting as Lily told her everything. When Lily handed her the notebook, Monica's expression shifted. She opened it slowly, read a few lines, then looked up. Are you sure he pushed her? Lily nodded. And you're ready for what comes next? Lily swallowed. She wasn't. Not really. But she nodded again. Monica gave her a burner phone and told her not to answer any unknown numbers. Then she left, promising she'd verify everything. That night, Lily returned to the hotel. She noticed something strange. Her name wasn't on the kitchen schedule anymore. She checked twice. Then she checked her locker. Empty. No jacket. No name tag. Nothing. Panic surged through her. She ran to find her grandmother, who was in the linen room folding towels. Gran, did they fire me? Her grandmother looked confused. No. No one told me anything. But when they went to ask the manager, he just smiled coldly. Lily doesn't work here anymore, he said. Must have been a clerical error. She's not on record. Lily's grandmother argued, demanded answers, but the man was firm, and security escorted them out. Just like that. Lily had no job, no room, no protection, and someone was watching. From across the street, parked in a black sedan, a man in a suit stared at her as they carried their bags into the rain. He didn't move. Just watched. Lily looked back at him, her heart pounding. She didn't know it yet, but the chase had already begun. Monica knew two things the moment she finished reading Mia's notebook. 1. This wasn't just a tragic accident. 2. She was about to get herself into something very dangerous. She started with the basics. Public records, foundation grants, adoption paperwork. Harold Grayson had built his empire on sleek philanthropy. He donated to hospitals, launched scholarships, even opened an adoption center bearing his mother's name. The media adored him. The headlines called him a beacon of hope for underprivileged children. But Monica wasn't reading headlines. She was reading the fine print. The adoption of Mia had gone through just 3 years ago. Barely any vetting, pushed through by a now retired judge. No photos of the adoption day, no coverage. Strange for a man who loved the camera. And then there was Mia herself. No birth certificate, just a vague record from an out-of-state foster home that had since burned down. She made calls, one after another. Some people hung up. Others told her to stop digging. A few said, "You're not the first to ask." Monica didn't sleep much those days. One night, around 2 a.m., Debia Stalk, she was reviewing old footage from a gala Harold hosted when she saw it. A glimpse of Mia, in the background. She was seated at a table near the back, hands folded, face blank, and just behind her, a man was standing. Not Harold. Another man. Tall. Narrow face. Cold eyes. The same man Lily had described from the hallway. Monica screenshot the frame and enhanced it. It wasn't great quality, but it was enough. She ran it through facial recognition software. Nothing. No ID. No record. That was worse than finding something. Ghosts don't show up in databases. A few days later, Monica went to visit Lily. She found her and her grandmother staying in a cheap motel outside town. They looked tired. Afraid. Monica showed them the photo. Lily confirmed it instantly. That's him. That's the one who was watching me. Monica sighed. She knew she had to move fast. She went to a contact at the local paper. Someone she trusted. She pitched the story carefully, framing it as a piece on flawed adoption systems and the dark side of image-obsessed charity. They agreed to help. But they needed more. Proof. Monica needed someone close to Harold. Someone inside. She remembered Alice, the grieving wife. No one had looked too closely at her. Monica drove to the Graysons' estate. She didn't try to sneak in. She waited outside with her press badge visible, holding a small bouquet of flowers. When Alice answered the door, Monica handed her the flowers and said softly, "I know about Mia, not the story they told. The real one." Alice froze. But for a second, Monica thought she'd slam the door, but instead, Alice opened it wider, just a crack, and whispered, "Come back tomorrow, same time. Don't tell anyone." Then she closed the door again. Monica's heart pounded all the way back to her car. It was working. She was getting in. But as she pulled away from the estate, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She didn't answer, but a voicemail came through. When she listened, a voice said, "Stop asking questions, or we'll bury you like we buried her." Monica came back the next day exactly on time. No recording devices, no notes, just her memory, and a tiny camera hidden in a button on her coat. If Alice opened up, this might be the only chance to get the truth. The estate looked calm. Sprinklers buzzed softly across the trimmed lawn. A maid carried fresh flowers inside. All normal, except it wasn't. Alice met her at the side entrance. Her face was pale, thinner than Monica remembered from TV interviews. She didn't speak right away, just led her down a narrow hallway into what looked like a study. Then she locked the door. Monica sat, hands on her lap. Alice leaned against the bookshelf and said quietly, "I knew something was wrong from the beginning." She didn't look at Monica. She stared past her into some memory she wasn't ready to relive. He never wanted her. Mia. It was all for the Foundation's image. He said people give more when there's a story. A poor disabled girl, and she was beautiful. I mean, her eyes. Alice wiped at her face. He treated her like a trophy. When no one was around, he barely spoke to her. Sometimes worse. Once, I saw her flinch when he walked into the room. Monica asked, "Did he ever hurt her?" Alice didn't answer directly, but she said, "I tried to leave once. Years ago. He threatened to ruin me, and he could. He still can." Monica pressed gently, "Why the mountains? Why that weekend?" Alice took a deep breath. He said it would be the final chapter, that we'd be free after. That the world would grieve, and then forget, and we'd be clean. Can you imagine that? Clean. She looked up finally. He came back alone. Covered in scratches. He said she rolled too far back. That he couldn't stop her, but he didn't cry. Not once. "I found this 2 nights ago." Alice pulled something from the drawer, a flash drive. Security footage, from his private cam. He thought it deleted. But Harold forgets things now. Sometimes he saves to the wrong folders. She handed it to Monica with trembling hands. "You need to take it, before I change my mind." Outside, Monica drove straight to her contact at the paper. They plugged in the drive. Watched the silent clip. It showed Harold wheeling Mia to the edge of the cliff. They stood there. He looked around. Said something. She shook her head. Then, his hand behind the chair, he shoved her. No hesitation. No attempt to catch her. Just silence. And then empty space. Monica didn't speak for a full minute. Then she stood up and said, "We publish everything, Denning. Tonight." But before they could move, the power cut out. Total black. The building was quiet. Too quiet. Then footsteps on the stairs. Monica whispered, "Get to the back exit," but a figure blocked it already. Same man from the gala, from Lily's hallway. This time he had something in his hand. A thin knife. Monica didn't think. She grabbed the hard drive, and ran toward the front, knocking over chairs. Her contact followed, shouting. They made it outside. Barely. Police sirens wailed. Minutes later, the man vanished. They handed everything over. The footage, the notebook, the threats, and by morning, Harold Grayson's face was on every screen in the state, for the wrong reasons. The arrest of Harold Grayson sent shockwaves through the entire country. The image of the beloved billionaire being led away in handcuffs, the same man who once stood next to presidents, gave tearful speeches about saving children, was too much for some to believe. But the footage didn't lie. The media devoured the story. Talk shows, headlines, podcasts, they all circled the same question. How could a man like that hide the truth for so long? Monica watched it all unfold from a safe house arranged by the newspaper for her own protection. The man with the knife had never been caught, but the story was out, and there was no going back. Alice filed for divorce the same week. Quietly. No press conference. No interviews. Just a statement. "I believed in a lie, and now I will live with the truth." The foundation crumbled overnight. Donors pulled out. Investigations followed. Money trails, false grants, shell charities. Monica had only scratched the surface, but something strange happened too. People began sending letters. Hundreds of them, former employees, foster kids, even a nurse who once worked in Harold's private clinic. Each letter carried a piece of the puzzle. One said, "I remember a girl named Mia. She was scared all the time. I thought it was just the chair. But now I know." Another, "I was paid to keep quiet. I still have the check." Monica handed them over to the authorities. Some were verified, some weren't, but all of them felt like justice finally whispering through the cracks. And Lily became a symbol, not officially, not in any organized way. But people started showing up at her school, bringing flowers, modules that said things like "You were brave," and "I believe you." She didn't like the cameras, but she stood next to Monica. Once, just once, at a press event outside the courthouse, she looked straight into the lens and said, "I didn't do anything special. I just didn't look away." It echoed for days. 1 month after the arrest, a memorial was held for Mia. It wasn't grand. No stage, no press, just a small group of people in a quiet park, a bench under a tree, a photo of her smiling face, and a plaque that read "Mia Grayson." She was here. She mattered. Alice came, holding a single white rose. Lily stood beside her, holding Monica's hand. There were tears, but also laughter, stories about Mia, the way she used to tilt her head when confused, how she loved riddles, how she once rolled away from a dinner party just to escape the violin music. They remembered her not as a victim, but as a girl who lived, even in a house that tried to silence her. Monica returned to her work, but she was different now. She no longer believed in headlines. She believed in whispers, in quiet girls with binoculars, in mothers who couldn't sleep, in broken records that somehow survived. She kept Mia's notebook in a drawer by her desk, and sometimes, when the nights were quiet, she'd open it to the last page, the one written in shaky pen. "If anything happens, it won't be an accident. Please believe me, Mia." And Monica would whisper back, "We do."